race of the day. So the grid is set, as we said, by the results of race number 1, but we see there's one notable omission from the grid. It's the car that's sat right on the front of it, which is 263 Fraser, well, that should be sat alongside race 1 winner Jack Brewer, and that's Fraser Fenwick. So for reasons that I have to be honest, I'm not entirely sure, we don't have Fraser on the grid, so we suspect possibly he's had maybe a mechanical issue of some kind. But we can at least give you the grid in terms of how they should be lining up. So it's Jack Brewer on pole position. We should have Fraser Fenwick alongside him, but sadly doesn't appear to be starting. So Jack Brewer will be all on his own from on pole on the front row of the grid. Second row is going to be Sebastian Fisher and Brian Trott from Oliver Allwood and Matt Pollard. And then Jason Greatrex and Steve Foden round out the top 8 positions, with the top 10 completed on the 5th row of the grid by Oliver Graham in car 24, and then it's Luke Pullen in car 27. Then we get to the 6th row, which is Callum Greatrex and Adam Craig from Paul Bateman and Owen Mills. Tim Dorr and Michael Green then come next on the 8th row of the grid. Heading up to row 9 is where we see Richard Wooden and Kevin Dengate, followed by Christopher Ginn and Cian Donaldson. Christian Dan and Oak Richardson come next, followed by Bryn Griffiths and then Brad Jones in 24th position. And then to the last few rows on the grid, we have Bo Parry and Aaron Danapala, with Ollie Walden, Graham Rumsey, Michael Pearce, Richard Bartlett, and then Zach Oates starting from the back of the grid. Now, he's done this before, coming from towards the back, charging his way through towards the front. So watch for him to come from 31st on the grid. If he's up there, which I think his white and purple car is just at the back I can spot, he will come through, and I'm pretty certain he will find himself quite... By the time he gets to the end of the race, he should be somewhere on the fringes, if not just inside the top 10, if not quite high, if he can pick his way through in the early laps to make up several positions. So, if we are without Fraser Fenwick for this second race, that is quite a shame, because he was pressing Jack Brewer quite hard all the way through that race, from start to finish. And he was trading the leads several times before we got to the end of the race, where he just missed out on the victory by a couple of tenths of a second. So if that means he will not start the second race, and hopefully it's not something which puts him out for the rest of the day, it means at least then he'll be able to... it'll give a bit of respite for Jack Brewer to try and pick up some more points over the rest of the field. So, as with the Super Cup, we've done some calculations on the points tables to add in the results from race number 1, so we can tell you, provisionally at least, where everyone is coming into this second race of the day. So, including again the 3 worst scores and calculating everyone by that, Jack Brewer now leads the way by 16 points over Oliver Allwood in second place, 694 for Jack Brewer compared to 678 for Oliver Allwood. He then puts Brian Trott into third place now with 669, just 3 points ahead of Steve Foden now in third position. It's fifth in points now with 658 for Sebastian Fisher, and that's with him counting the 3 races that he didn't perform in at Croft, because he missed those ones, so he lost out on those 3. So those 3 scores, those 3 0 scores, are his dropped scores. So therefore, every other point he's counting is pretty much going exactly towards his championship. Now, Fraser Fenwick, who would have started the race on the front row of the grid, would have come into this race 6th in points, or was going to come into it 6th, 650 points, just 1 point ahead of Oliver Graham, 649. And then the rest of that, from the rest of the top 10, is Jason Greatrex on 616 points. Then a gap of 50 points to Luke Pullen on drop scores with 566, and then a further 10 points back to Callum Greatrex on 556 points. So that is the top 10 as calculated provisionally after the results of race number 1. So, quite ironically, despite the rain shower that we had, the warm conditions that we have here, being sort of 20-21 degrees, which will mean a slightly warmer track temperature, means that the rain that we had the surface, any surface water that we had, is pretty much completely evaporated. So it's now gone back to being effectively a completely dry circuit. Maybe 1 or 2 damp patches out there. The one place it won't necessarily be quite too dry yet is the grass, because usually the grass takes longer to dry than the circuit, which means that if you go off the road, there might be some cars sliding and slipping off the road in those conditions. But whether or not it's going to affect them too much and how much it'll affect lap time, we'll see as the race gets underway with our first couple of proper flying laps. That was a mouthful. Couple of proper flying laps after lap number 1 is completed. So just quickly once again for those who are just joining us for our second race for colour identification. So Jack Brewer's car is the yellow car with the blue and red stripes. And I think they actually give them a second green flag lap, I think, because the track is not totally dry. There are still some damp patches, so they have decided, just for the reasons of safety, I think, just to make sure that it's not, they aren't going to a corner where they would have gone full speed before, that it doesn't, that if they did that in this race, it wouldn't work out. To make sure they don't discover that, they give them a second green flag, that just to make sure that they are fully aware with the conditions, given the fact that we have just had that rain shower. But as I mentioned, it's, with it being quite warm out there, I said the ambient temperature is some 21 degrees. I think any water or any kind of damp parts or moisture on the circuit looks as though it's probably going to be clearing away pretty quickly, because the fact that the warm temperatures allows it to do that. And you can see that when we had that rain shower, it's completely gone. And yes, there are still some clouds hanging around, but you can see it's a bit brighter, and even some sun starting to creep through as well, which is quite nice. So a nice sort of mixed weather on this summer Saturday afternoon here with the British Racing Sports Car Club. Of course, another live race day. We had that last week, and we've got more live action next weekend when we head to the BRSCC's home circuit, in inverted commas, that being Brands Hatch in Kent, because BRSCC is based in Kent itself. So Brands Hatch is the local circuit. That'll be plenty of action in store with Caterhams. We've got the National Formula 4 Championship, the next rounds of a new Zio Prototype Cup as well. We've also got guest racing from not just Track Attack, who of course are part of the BRSCC roster as well, but also the Classic and Modern Motorsport Club's Southern Series, which is a combined grid for their tin tops and saloons as well. So plenty of action there to watch next weekend, and of course you can catch it all if you're watching here, both on the BRSCC Facebook page and also on the YouTube channel. Make sure that you like, subscribe, and also hit the notification icons and hit the notification bell for both, which means that whenever we go live, you'll get or at least a new highlights video gets uploaded, which there should be in the next few weeks of some of the previous meetings that we've had. You'll get a notification on your phone or on your browser to let you know that it's gone live, and also when we've gone live for the next live stream that we have in a week's time. So do be sure to join us for that, and we've still got plenty more live race days and race weekends to come, including, of course, the essentially the centrepiece of the BRSCC calendar. That being, of course, the 50th running, the 50th anniversary of the Formula Ford Festival at Brands Hatch, 30th and 31st of October. If you can make it in person, that would be fantastic. It's sure to be a wonderful occasion. The Mazdas will be there. They'll be finishing off their season there as they did last year. So you'll have the MX-5 Championship, the MX-5 Clubman Championship making its debut, of course, there as well. That's interesting. Now then, I'll go back to that, run through the festival stuff in a second. Fraser Fenwick is on the grid, but he's at the back. So whether there was an issue where he came to the assembly area maybe late, or there was some work they had to do on that car, but whatever happens, that's interesting. Fraser Fenwick then, by the looks of it, is being forced to start from the back of the grid. So I suspect it must be either him getting late to assembly or an issue that forced him to not get out of assembly initially, and therefore because everyone else had gridded up, by the time he got underway, the green flag lap had already started. So I imagine that's the reason why. So Fraser Fenwick then, who is the purple car right at the back of the field there, car number 263, is the one which will be looking to try and make his way up through the field from 31st on the grid. And so it's got quite a lot of work to do that. Of course, he came within a couple of tenths of a second of winning that first race earlier on this morning, and led on several occasions, but he now has to start towards the back along with his fellow AB Motorsport teammate, Zach Oates. So those two are going to be quite the ones to watch out for. One driver to also watch out for has to be the guy who's starting there on the outside of the second row of the grid, which is Brian Trott. And we have seen, not just last week at Snetterton, but also even just as recent as the first race we had here, Sebastian Fischer started on the outside of the front row of the grid for the first race and got a much better launch than Jack Brewer did, who was on the inside line. That's a shame. Luke Pullens pulled off the road with a mechanical issue of some kind, sadly. So that's AB Motorsports squad down one car for this second race, but hopefully they'll get that car quickly moved off before they hold the 5-second board and get the green flags. So I think we're just waiting for the signal to get things underway. I think there's been a slight delay on things. Right, the 5-second board now goes up, so I think now that the grid is clear, we're all set to get our second MX-5 Championship race underway. Jack Brewer on his own from pole position, but watch for Brian Trott from the outside of the second row with a clean run down towards Ritchie's corner. We're underway and racing, and as I mentioned, it's a decent start from the pole man and also from Brian Trott from the outside of the second row. Everyone jostles away from the back of the grid as they head down towards Ritchie's on the start. It's going to be Brewer who leads then, still side by side for second off the second row of the grid for that was Fischer and Trott. Looking around the outside also with a great start was Steve Foden into the first corner. And that's not quite the start Fraser Fenwick wanted. He's picked up some positions, but he's also on the grass. So See if we can fix that one pretty quickly. Whoa, 3 abreast. That's what, 5th, 6th, and 7th behind Ollie Allwood. That was Pollard, Greatrex, and who was that also? I think it might have been Allwood, I think. But no, it's behind Allwood, I think. But we'll come back to that in a second because I was trying to work it all out. But there's plenty of position changes going on behind the front runners. Brewer leads then. 2nd place now for Sebastian Fischer. It's then 3rd place for Brian Trott. 4th for Ollie Allwood. Then it's 5th for... Quite work out who was exactly 5th. It might be Greatrex. 6th then for Pollard. 7th for Foden, who was in that mix as well. And I think Tim Dawes up to 8th position. I saw a flash of the green and gold car. Decent start for Tim Dawes, who's one of our leading Masters drivers. Now he started, looking back at where he was on the grid, he started... I need to look back at where he was for a second, but we'll check the grid as I'll check back the grid as we go through this opening lap. So out through Oggies for the first time. Again, the track conditions, again, quite different to what we had towards the end of that Super Cup race. Now it seems as though that any damp patches or even just any wet parts of the circuit that were even remotely damp or saturated seem to have quickly been dried up by the heat around here at Snetterton. Look at that wonderful spectator bank at Agostini, which is near full of spectators watching on this brilliant MX-5 race, and they're currently watching, heading down the back straight, a battle on for 2nd between Brian Trott in the 83 and the 81 car there, Sebastian Fischer. Now again, Fischer said in that interview with Lindsay at the end of the first race, he was quick enough to keep with the leaders, but he didn't quite have exactly the ultimate pace to get past them, so I think he may well need a benefit of a slipstream to try and get himself through. So they turn their way in through the bomb hole, through Coram for the first time, and they're now nose to tail. Ollie Allwood's made a good start into 4th position. There's Jason Greatrex in 5th. 6th place for Pollard, 7th place for Foden. There is Matt, former Rookie of the Year a couple of seasons ago, and certainly getting quicker and quicker, and he's now a fully established top 10 runner. But Jack Brewer back in his customary place at the head of the field. He leads with Fischer 2nd, Trott 3rd, Allwood 4th. Greatrex in 5th position. More battles going on further back as they sweep down the pit straight. And for Fraser Fenwick, I noticed he was a little bit higher up the pack now in that first lap in terms of where he's currently sat on the grid. He is currently at the moment across the line Fraser Fenwick is 19, so he's made up 10 spots, but not as many as Zach Oates, who started, where did he start? In 28th position on the grid by the looks of things. But he's up now 13 places, up to 15th already. So I said to watch out for Zach. He's an incredibly rapid young driver, graduate from karting just a couple of seasons ago. Made his debut in the championship last year towards the end of the season. Already has a podium to his name from Anglesey. And he is now charging his way down to up the field again. He's the white and purple car who was in the mix, I think, just behind Oliver Graham in the blue and orange stripe machine. Up the inside of Tim Dorr goes to the 22 of Owen Mills. That's a pass 4 position. That will be heading up into, I think, 9th place. And I have to hats off to Tim Dorr, though. He's ahead of Paul Bateman, the defending Masters champion. He really is having a cracking run so far. Another AB Motorsport prepared car. So Ali Bray certainly has managed to get his cars in tip-top condition at the moment, particularly running on a pretty superb setup. And Tim Dorr having one of his best races already since he joined the MX-5s. Up in 9th, up around the top 10 places overall. So great stuff from the Australian. That reflected by his green and gold livery. And the white and purple car just there, 145. There's Zach Oates in tandem now. He's in tandem now with Fraser Fenwick. In fact, I think Fenwick has actually caught and passed Zach now, and the pair of them are trying to work their way towards the front of the field. They're now watching on as Oliver Graham's having a move on. That must have been Paul Bateman for 12th and 13th place. So they're both moving up it's synchronised overtaking, shall we say, up the order. I was trying to find the words there. Past them, they've both slipped past Paul Bateman now, so that's another couple of positions made up. A couple of positions lost for Paul Bateman. You might lose another one in a second to Richard Wood into the bomb hole. There goes Fraser now looking up the inside of Kevin Dengate, so he really is driving it to the front on this second lap already. Here is the scrap on for 5th position. You've got Jason Greatrex, being chased down by Matt Pollard, and then just behind him in 7th place is Steve Foden. I'm sure he would have preferred it to be a little bit more damper in this race, because he's a demon in the wet, is Steve Foden, as characterised by those 2 wins that he got at Silverstone, which are both in less than ideal conditions, but he really is rapid when the circuit starts, when the rain starts to fall. There is Steve, car 77. I think he had 1 or 2 power issues towards the start of the season. They've managed to sort those out as they've gone on, and now he's keeping himself very much in that leading pack. And what's crucial is that Jack Brewer has not been allowed to run away like he has done in the past in some races. It looks like the pack has really started to find a way to keep him in touch and to reel him in. And these long straights at Snetterton, will certainly be playing into that as well, because of course it gives a prime chance for the drivers to slipstream, to keep up, to get a little bit of extra few miles an hour on the straights, and one driver benefited from that at the expense of Fisher. It's Brian Trott, because here he comes for second place, looking to the inside into Agostini, but Fisher put the car right into the middle of the road in the braking zone and said, try again next time, Brian. So he remains second, but of course he's got to be careful that the more time he spends defending from Brian, the possibility he might have is that the rest of the entire pack, including himself, might start to lose time to Jack. He'll probably be laughing to himself in his helmet, watching in his rearview mirror as the chasing contenders get smaller and smaller. So maybe if Sebastian Fisher does capitulate and let Brian Trott through, it might be to everyone else's benefit, because if Brian Trott becomes essentially the fastest car on the train, if everyone else can keep pace, particularly on the long straights here in the slipstream, there might be a chance they can all latch on to the back of Jack Brewer's tail. All pairing off like the old school NASCAR tandem drafting here, 2 by 2 by 2 for second, for fourth and for sixth, so they're all pairing off with each other, although Jack Brewer doesn't have a drafting partner because he's out in front and not really needing it too much. There's Matt Pollard staying ahead of Steve Foden. Thump of the curb there from Steve as he tries to keep up with the top six. Funnel their way through the bomb hole. The rest of the top 10 is Callum Greatrex, 8th across the line. Owen Mills is 9th and Oliver Graham is 10th. So Tim Dawes been shuffled out of the top 10 already, down to 11th. Now they come back into the complex at Murray's again. So Brewer still leads. Fisher second, Trott third, Allwood in fourth, Jason Greatrex is fifth, then Pollard and Foden. That's the leading 7 as they come down the back straight. Now Sebastian Fisher last time when they came across the line, he did set the fastest lap of the race, 2:21.737, and he still holds it. In fact, the top three, in fact, the pace between the top 6 or 7 cars is incredibly evenly matched. It's only about a gap spread of about 0.3 of a second in terms of lap time, so they're all lapping as quick as each other, which is really good to see. 7 very evenly matched, very competitive cars. As now looking up the inside to make the dive goes Matt Pollard, locks up the inside front, and he'll run wide, which will allow both Jason Greatrex to go back through and also give an avenue to potentially let Steve Foden get past into 6th position. So Matt Pollard went for the move into the top 5, found himself going a little bit too hot into Wilson's hairpin, and it really didn't work out for him. Now then, look at the lead battle. Sebastian Fisher's got onto the tail again once more of Jack Brewer, who is having to get defensive here again. He stays to the traditional outside line, but Fisher is all over his rear bumper as they turn into Agostini. This is interesting. Looks like the auto testing and found a little bit more pace in the break between races, because, remember, as I mentioned earlier on, Sebastian did say in the interview that he had the pace to keep up with the leaders, but not just that little bit extra to try and get past. Well, look at the pace he's setting now. I wouldn't put it past him to put a move on Jack in the next few corners. If he can stay this close, exiting Oggies and then through Williams and get the slipstream down the Bentley straight, he could line himself up to get himself into a really good position, maybe through either Brundle and Nelson, or possibly in a chance to get himself close in the slipstream down the centre straight. But on the contrary, exiting Williams, he's now fallen back by about a car length or so, and it's starting to bring Brian Trott into play. Also looking at Oliver Allwood there in 4th, and a little bit of no man's land. He's not really in exact that close to get a big toe from the top 3, but he's not being put under immediate pressure just yet from Jason Greatrex either. So he'll be hoping the top 3 in front start to fight, and will bring them back towards him in the next lap or two. Brewer, meanwhile, it seems as though he's quicker on some parts of the circuit, and Fisher has the advantage on others, which the fact they're closing all back up together means that Brian Trott might have a chance here to squeeze through. Trott then turns his way out of Murray's, now down the centre straight. He'll be in the slipstream, something which Fisher doesn't have a benefit of. He won't get a strong slipstream off Brewer as Trott will from Fisher, because he's much closer down the pit straight. So there might be a chance to squeeze through. Now, that is Fraser Fenwick ahead of Zach Oates. So those two have been making some steady progress up the field. So Fenwick is now 8th and Zach Oates is now 9th. Remember, they started effectively 30th and 31st on the grid, and they're now up into the top 10, the pair of them. So let's look at their lap times as well. Their last lap times they're on leader pace, which is 2:22.2 for both of them. But Oates did a personal best and was about 600ths faster. So they're both lapping as quickly as each other. But the trouble is, they're also lapping as quick as the leaders, so that might be all their progress. There's Kevin Dengate going up the inside in the 178 car, the red MX-5, just past the black car with the yellow trim. That is Richard Woodson, and the yellow car, number 29, is Adam Craig, who he's usually a regular sort of driver in around the top 10 and top 15 places, and has his day when he just pops into trouble the leaders occasionally. And he's just having a decent scrap here with Dengate and Wootton. I think Wootton's getting a bit of a help here from Michael Green down the back straight towards Agostini. Michael Green, the third of the auto test cars. That's the white car with the blue and green stripes. There it is, 222. Scrapping over Kevin Dengate, who looks around the outside. He's another one of the drivers who I believe is an AV Motorsport prepared car. That's Oak Richardson behind? I think it is Oak. Well, one of them's Oak Richardson. The other one I think I'm not too sure about. It is. It was Christopher Ginn and Oak Richardson in two very similar, the yellow-coloured cars in 19th and 20th positions. They were battling towards the bottom of the top 20. So the battle continues on. And there is Oak Richardson sliding up the inside of Christopher Ginn. So Ginn back into, I think he's now car 20 in position 20. And they're both being caught now by the rather rapid Bryn Griffiths in 21st position. Bryn Griffiths has been a leading Masters driver in the past. Of course, some of these drivers get a little older, they can qualify for it, as Richard Wootton took 2 wheels onto the grass there as he went into Ronald Nelson. Then runs wide on the exit of Nelson to try to desperately get past Richard Wootton. The next group comes through, still headed by Oak Richardson. Christopher Ginn gives him a small little handy little bump draft there heading into the bomb hole. And Oak, of course, is one of those drivers who has got that little novice cross on the back you can see, which is usually on any other car that's not yellow, it would be a yellow square with a black cross there. That means they've done less than 6 races. So therefore they're just learning on the fly here. They might well be that I think Oak has done a little more than that, but just hasn't quite yet taken his sticker off, which sometimes do tend to forget sometimes when they've been around for a while and just in their first few races. Once you get to the last, you complete your 6 races, some do tend to leave it on for quite a while. Now then, here's the battle for the lead. And a change for second because Brian Trott has got around Sebastian Fischer here for second position. Now I wonder this time, now that Brian Trott's got through and now he's the main pursuer of Jack Brewer, I wonder if this will now give an incentive for everyone else to start going a bit quicker and to start closing him in, because Ollie Allwood's now taking up the mantle here of getting into 4th position. So he's now closing in 4th position. There he is. And now looking down the outside is Sebastian Fischer. Quite an ambitious move. He might get the undercut if he can get a decent run out of Agostini and square off the corner on the exit. But what it's going to do is bring Allwood into play, and also watch for Pollard, who's the first of those 3 cars in the second part of that train. That's the white car, and of the red and white machine of Grey Trex and the black and gold car of Foden. So they're all closing up, and it just seems as though that Brewer, he's not desperately pulling away and creating a large gap, but at the same time, he hasn't got exactly on this race, at least, the overall pace to really do that. He's got enough pace just to keep the cars behind him and not actually make any big desperate moves. But at the same time, they're not allowing him to pull away that much. So this really is becoming quite an intensive battle here, and there's still 6.5 minutes to go. Still plenty of time as Brian Trott starts to mount an attack here. Now, Brian hasn't won a race so far this season, but he's been incredibly consistent in his results. The only time he didn't get a result was when he retired from the 3rd race at Croft after he got caught up in an incident that was not of his own doing. He got caught up in somebody else's incident, and as a result of that, he lost points. But that will count as one of his 3 dropped scores. And now he's applying the pressure to Jack Brewer all the way through Coram Corner. And this could well be a prime chance for him to line up his first victory. Battle on for 3rd is also starting to shape up between Sebastian Fischer and Oliver Allwood. Matt Pollard's also getting involved too. 5th position, the white, black and red machine in there, car number 55. Now here comes the leading pack all together. Top 5 nose to tail, 6th and 7th a little further back, and here comes Brian Trott darting to the inside line, and he forces Jack Brewer to go all the way to the edge of the circuit to try and defend it, which will put him offline, exiting Ritchie's. This will bring both Fischer and Allwood and everyone else right back into play. Look at them, 5 for the lead, down towards the hairpin at Wilson. Down the outside of everyone goes Ollie Allwood, tries to get 3rd place round the outside of Sebastian Fischer, and he has got it. He's done it. He's got his nose in front, so it's now AB Motorsport cars in 2nd and 3rd, and it could be 4th as well, because Sebastian Fischer leaves the door wide open, and up the inside looks Matt Pollard in 55, and as he gets through, not quite. He sits back into 5th position and holds on for the time being. Now Jason Greatrex is involved, and watch for Steve Foden in the background. He'll start to get involved too. Look at this. A fantastic 6-car battle for the lead in the MX-5 Championship. This is the kind of race we want to see, and what it regularly produces. Brilliant stuff between these guys. Down the back straight at Agostini, the short straight down towards the left-hander at Hamilton's. the heat haze just sort of heat haze just flickering off the circuit as the temperatures start to climb a bit more, and it's the fantastic warm weather that we've got here now starting to shine through. The clouds starting to burn off a little bit more. It's producing some brilliant action here in the MX5 Championship. So now Jason Greatrex takes up the mantle. He's now into fifth position, because Matt Pollard's now dropped back to 6th, and they're all starting to pair off again now as Trott starts to line up Brewer. Likewise Fisher on Allwood, likewise Pollard on Greatrex. How's it going to look heading into the complex where they're almost side by side with first and third? Greatrex now is onto the back of Fisher himself, and he's bringing Matt Pollard with him. Brian Trott is really giving Jack Brewer a lot to think about here. They turn into the bomb hole. They've still got 3 3/4 minutes to go. So this end of this lap and 2 more, I reckon, on the timing. Through Coram. This long, almost never-ending right-hander, just leaning on those left-hand side tyres, and a quick short stop, flick right through Murray's and back onto the pit straight again, and back up through the gears to complete another lap. Ollie Allwood's having a good run up to third place. So Ollie's got past. Okay, right. So Ollie Allwood has now got past, as we saw, into third position. We saw that back at the hairpin. So that place has now been made up, and Trott's looking again, this time to the outside line. Again, he's forcing Brewer to come off that racing line. This might give him the undercut here if he plays his cards right on the exit through Riches. And now look at Allwood and also Smashing Fisher with a great run through the right-hander. Now down towards the hairpin. 3 of them for second place. Allwood looks to the outside. Trott takes the defensive inside line. And now you see Fisher trying to creep up the inside and catch Allwood off guard through the right-hander at Wilson's. A little bump there from Jason Greatrex. Come on, Seb, get on with it. And he is trying to get on with it through Palmer's, as they now turn out through the left, and now onto that short back straight. And Jack Brewer is doing everything he needs to. He's putting his car in all the right places at all the right times, and he's holding on to this lead beautifully. But there has to be a moment, surely, unless he can hold on for the duration of this next 2 minutes and 20 seconds, plus change for however long the rest of the final lap takes to close in. There's the top 7, and there's Fraser Fenwick in 8th position. I'm not suggesting he'll catch them, but he'll get pretty close if these 7 don't essentially stop squabbling. And I can't see that happening in a month of Sunday. So it looks as though it's going to be nose to tail and edge of your seat stuff all the way. And the more they hold each other up a scrap, it's going to just keep on allowing Fraser Fenwick to keep on getting closer and closer. Because remember, he is on his own. There he is, in 8th position, way on his own at the moment. I think Zach Oates is currently in 9th. He is. So I did say watch for Zach. He'd get up into the top 10. So that premonition has come true. And Oliver Graham is currently sat in 10th place. Not quite the weekend he was hoping, as it's side by side for the lead. Round the outside into Brendan Nelson. Now they pulled level into the complex, but Jack Brewer somehow has remained in front. So out of Nelson, down the short straight towards the bomb hole. There's a yellow flag, so the car's pulled to the stop. I think it's Graham Rumsey. I recognise the yellow Senna-inspired helmet, so I think Graham sadly's pulled to a stop. So he's out of the race, sadly, in the closing stages. But in through Coram for the second to last time. There is 1 minute and 10 seconds left on the clock. The fastest lap of the race is still held by Sebastian Fisher. And now they come onto the pit straight to start the final 3 miles of this second race. Jack Brewer has the lead, but everyone else wants it. There's Graham Rumsey to confirm that he's out of the race, sadly. So that's his car to the side of the road. He'll have to get that car fixed for race 3. Here they come then. 3 more miles to the side. Who wins the second race of the day here at Snetterton in the Mazda MX5 Championship. And now under attack for second place is Ollie Allwood. He's putting Brian Trott under attack for second place, to rephrase that. But all of them nose to tail, the first 5 all together, down towards the hairpin at Wilson's. Brewer hits the brakes, turns in. Still under threat, and now around the outside looking for, looked like 4th position, maybe even 3rd there was Jason Greatrex. He was alongside and pulled level on corner apex with Sebastian Fisher. Now Greatrex is under threat from Matt Pollard. Fisher himself is now going on the attack, trying to get past Allwood. What a frantic finish this is for the race. And again, look, Brewer's not comfortable. He has to go defensive to try and break the toe down on the run towards Agostini. I think as much as I admire Fraser Fenwick's run here, I don't think he's going to catch these guys. He'll get close, but he'll just run out of laps and run out of time, because we are on the last lap here at Snetterton. Top 7 all together. There's Fenwick. He might just latch onto the back end, but not quick enough to make a difference, I don't think. Well, the stranger things in motorsport have happened, and they usually do. So I could be talking rubbish, and he might well pick up 6th and pass one of the cars in this group. But we'll have to wait and see how the last half a lap plays out between these guys And I think Jack Brewer, for the first time in a while, has got a little bit of respite now because Brian Trott's closing him down, but not at the rate in which he's not close enough, I don't think, to really make that much of a big difference to make an attack. He might get close down the back straight here. Change on for third because Ollie Allwood then still under threat from Fisher, who is right on the outside line. It could be side by side for third. Trott will close in. While at third place, Fisher looks round the outside into Brandon Nelson. Is he on the inside for the right-hander? The answer is no, he's not, because Ollie Allwood cuts across and holds on to the position. Still in third. They come back towards the bomb hole one last time. Now Trott will have to throw everything he can at this, because like Fraser Fennick, he had to try and get him on the run to the checkered flag, and he just missed out by a couple of tenths a second. Can Brian Trott go one better, and can he beat Brewer to the line? He has to get a super exit out of Murray's to make it happen. Into the final corner. Brewer's now going to try and hold on, and Trott is right there. He's right underneath him. This could be a chance to the line and a photo finish. Brewer and Trott together as they come back towards the checkered flag, but I think with a little bit of better acceleration, Fisher might just have this, and it is going to be a 7th win. It's going to be a chance for third place. Fisher wins, Trott second, and for third it's going to be Sebastian Fisher, who just steals it on the line from Ollie Allwood. And he picked up third position by 0.140 of a second, by 1/10 separating them right at the flag. Jason Greatrex 5th, Matt Pollard 6th, Steve Foden 7th, and check this out for pace. He might not have caught the top 7, but Fraser Fennick certainly was the fastest man out there. He popped in the last lap, a 2 minutes 21.302. That was 6/10 quicker than the previous, no, 4/10 quicker than the previous fastest lap, set by Sebastian Fisher. Woo, what another great race that was. And again, cracking stuff for the MX5 Championship, as they always produce. Oops, off the race gone Christopher Ginn. I think you'll find that the circuit's to the left. Yep, on your left. There you go. He's back on the circuit now. He's back on the road after that small excursion. Across the line they go. Another great race. The rest of the field makes its way to the flag. And all of them picking up some great results. Let's just also check in with what happened behind those top 7-8 cars, because it was 8th for Fraser Fennick, 9th for Zach Oates, who came from the back of the grid. The top 10 completed by Oliver Gray, and then we had 11th place for Callum Greatrex, 12th for Owen Mills, 13th for Adam Craig, 14th for Tim Dorr, 15th for Paul Bateman, and it was Kevin Dengate, Michael Green, Richard Wood, and Bryn Griffiths, and Oak Richardson rounding out the top 20, followed by Bo Parry in 21st, and then it's quickly rattled through the rest of the order from that finish of that race. Aaron Danapal in 22nd, then Ollie Walden, Michael Pearce, Christopher Ginn, who went off the road there just behind Michael Pearce, then Brad Jones and Richard Bartlett, and we sadly lost both Graham Rumsey in the closing stages, pulled up at just before the bomb hole, and we lost Luke Pullen before the start of the race, which delayed it by a few seconds. But the smile says it all. P1, another victory. That is his 7th of the season. And at the moment, there is no stopping Jack Brewer's freight train for the lead. There's second place man Brian Trott after his runs the flag. He's happy with that too. And Sebastian Fisher, of course, with another podium, another race, another third place. He's getting closer. He's getting ever closer to that that first victory. It will come one day. It will come. He's getting closer. The progress is being made. He's brilliant. But maybe in the third race it might come if his luck goes his way. But excellent stuff again from the MX5 Championship, as they always produce. Let's find out what the top 3 thought of that incredible race. Here's Lindsay with our top 3 after an amazing race 2 for the MX5 Championship here at Snetterton. More of that coming on later on this afternoon.
Right, let's go in and talk to the man of the hour. You are putting up one hell of a fight this weekend, Jack.
I made it difficult for myself on the last lap. I missed the gear twice. Well, what a car. What a car. I can't thank Tucker enough. It's been fantastic. The weather looked like it was going to give us a few headaches, but thankfully it was dry.
Yeah, I wanted to speak to you about that, because it's been getting warmer and warmer the whole 20 minutes you guys are out there. Were you struggling at all?
Yeah, a little bit on the tyres. They were overheating quite a lot towards the end. Obviously having to defend as well, you wear the tyres out so much quicker, so they just boil, and then from there we were about a second a lap off the pace, but held it, and despite missing a few gears, we're still here, so one more to go.
I just very quickly want to check, did you feel the pressure with that Mr. Trott behind you racing up?
Well, yeah, a little bit after Silverstone, but yeah, he's a great driver, and I know full well got my hands full when he's behind me, so fair play and credit to him. He's keeping me on my toes.
Brilliant. Well, let's see if you can make it 3 out of 3 this afternoon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Now, Mr. Trott, you don't make it easy for these boys. Please talk me through that race, because defending and attacking, where was your priorities?
Attacking, of course. Yeah, that first race didn't go according to plan, so the second one I wanted to get my elbows out a bit more, made a better start. It was a clean first lap, which it wasn't in the previous one. and then I found myself in third, managed to make a move halfway round the hairpin, and then got on to Jack. I was hassling him as much as I could, but he has got a rocket engine in that thing, and it was as much as I could do to stay in the toe down the back straight. He started making a few mistakes as I started getting closer, so maybe another couple of laps we might have had him. Almost had him on the last straight where he missed the gear again, so yeah, he's feeling the pressure. I don't think he'll make it 3 in a row.
No, well, obviously you're starting next to him on the last race. I'm guessing you're all going to be about the start.
To an extent, but round here, I mean, the toe does make a big difference, so you've got to get away in the lead group, and once you're in that, you've got to stay in there for the whole 20 minutes. It's not easy, but that's why we come racing.
Well, you make it look easy, so we'll look forward to seeing you in the last race of today.
Just a big thanks to AB Motorsport for setting the car up, and of course couldn't do it without Team Trot, so thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Now, Seb, very, very quickly, I just want to check, what was that race? The pressure, the defending, the attacking, too much? How was it?
It was incredible. It was excellent fun. Yeah, I went for a move on Jack around the outside, which was a bad idea, which let Brian through, and then we were all fighting, and Ollie got through, and I thought, oh, no, I've got the pace, but I'm not racing very well. And then I thought, right, just calm down, you know, get yourself together. And Ollie made a mistake on the last corner, and I got the drag on him, and yeah, another third. So seems to be making a habit of this, but yeah, brilliant, well happy.